lesson 2 for how to read tarot card combinations. So, if you are a new tarot reader or someone who is very experienced in the tarot but want to start reading for others, I can give you some tips in here that will help you very on your journey to becoming a successful tarot card reader. What most people who are new to tarot card reading tell me is they actually really get to know the tarot really well and they know all the cards and all the meanings, but when they start to lay them down and try to make connections to actually make a story or some kind of reading for someone, that things just fall apart. They struggle to make those connections. And that's because if you approach it, the biggest mistake a new tarot card reader can make, and I teach this in my tarot reading courses, only use the two ways of gaining information, which is what is the meaning I have memorized and was the position in the spread. And though that's not enough information for you to really draw out all the nuances or all the things the tarot card has to tell you. So what I always tell people is you need to learn a few things, and there's things I teach about numerology, the hierarchy, and so forth. We'll go through examples of each of these in order to expand the amount of information. As a new tarot card reader, as an experienced tarot card reader, you should see it as using all the pieces of information the tarot card deck is actually giving to you. As a new tarot card reader, you should see it as your way of initially looking at the tarot, trying to stitch it together is not enough information for you. So I'm going to give you some more avenues, more things to pull connections from that'll help you figure out what the cards are trying to tell you. So in this case, the first example here, I'm going to tell you, I do talk a lot about numerology. Numerology is very important in tarot. I actually learned and mastered numerology before I got into tarot card reading, so it was a lot easier for me, I think, to pick it up faster because I had a very strong background in numerology, but not too many people study numerology. I think astrology and tarot are way more popular than numerology. So in this case, you don't even have to. This is a test of whether or not you are really learning how to read tarot card combinations together. I'll give you an example of questions what this could be, but in this case, you don't even have to give me the question. I don't even need to know if you're going to ask me a relationship reading or career reading, whatever the case may be. The main message from this one, by look at the numerology, both these cards are 5. 5 in numerology is all about change. Whatever context the person's going to give you, it just gives you a little more context of where it is. But the main message and the main takeaway from this is the message from the 5 is you need to change what you're doing in order to meet your goals. So in this case, with the 5 of Swords over here, the 5 of Swords is you need to change things on the Swords plane, which is your communication or your thinking. And most often when this card comes up, it's because you're having the same conflict. You're going round and round in circles, and you're actually not making progress towards your goal because you're getting caught up in fighting the initial battle or trying to win the argument, whatever the case may be, but you're not making any progress towards reaching compromise or finding what it is that's going to move you forward in this life or this career with this argument, whatever the case may be. Over here, the 5 of Cups. The 5 of Cups really talks about don't cry over spilled milk, which is, again, you need to change the way you feel about a situation in order to accomplish your goals. In this case, it's you need to let go of what wasn't for you and what doesn't serve you, the heartbreak that we're all naturally going to have at some point in our journey. But if you get stuck and you're not and you're allowing the hurt, the emotional hurt, because cups deal with the emotional plane, if you're allowing the emotional hurt to kind of keep you stuck, then of course you're not going to reach and accomplish your goals. So both of these cards are giving you the same message on a different vector, a different, one is about your thinking and communication, and the other is about the way you feel. And in both cases, they're kind of keeping you trapped, or at least you're not learning your lesson from it. One of them, in both cases, it's, you need to stop having this circular argument and actually think about the bigger picture and see what goal you want and how you can accomplish that versus getting distracted, honestly, with whatever this, trying to win this argument's going to be. That's not the outcome that you want. You want something bigger or broader than that, but you're getting distracted from your own goal, trying to win this one argument or this one fight, whatever the case might be. On this side over here, it's, it could be like you have not, let go of the emotional hurts and, the past relationship that didn't work out. So you are, even though you say, oh, that past relationship didn't work out, it wasn't right for me, I want to find my right person and I really want to have a wonderful relationship. That is your goal, is to have a wonderful relationship. You are actively working against yourself right now on your goal of finding a wonderful relationship because it's the crying over spilled milk. You are stuck or you are unable to move forward towards that goal because you are either thinking about the past or unable to let go of the reasons for the hurt or the reasons why it didn't end. None of those answers that you are asking or seeking are going to help you on your new goal of how you find a great relationship that's working for you. So in this case, with these set of cards in this combination, we'll give examples of everything else, and you can find which works for you. There's a series of numerology that will help you really kind of pull back the layers and really stitch the cards together. If you thought these were just two random cards, I've memorized my meanings for the swords, memorized my meanings for the cups. I don't know how to stitch these two together. What's going on here? Then you need to start with the numerology, because the numerology is the common connector here, and they're both kind of giving you the same message of you need to make some change in order which change what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to be distracted, be off course of your goal, and you're not going to accomplish the goal that you want to have. So sometimes when you look at the cards, it's going to be the numerology that helps you really bring these two cards in combination together. And this next example we'll go through will be something a little bit different. In this case, you have the Ten of Wands and the Three of Pentacles. And again, as a new tarot card reader, you might say, oh, I know some meanings for each of those. I just have no idea how to put these two together. I have no idea. One of the things I teach in my tarot reading course is you need to know the hierarchy or the ranking of the suits in the tarot. In this case, what becomes important, because you can look at this and say, well, you just taught me about numerology. I'm going from a 10 to a 3, so this person's going backwards. And there is a context to it, so that is helpful information, because that's certainly true. But that is not the most helpful connection for you immediately as you start to learn tarot. Once you know the ranking of the tarot cards, you'll actually learn that the wands are the lowest ranked cards, and then the pentacles are above that. So in this case, even though the numerology suggests you are going backwards from a 10 to a 3, and we'll talk about how that comes into play, because it does, in reality, still moving from a wands to a pentacles is still a gaining or making progress on this journey. Because when you start to look at the meanings of these cards, the Ten of Wands is often can be you are really just, there's a heavy burden. You just can't carry it any longer. You've gone as far as you could on this plane. That's why you see the suit change. And that's probably why you're getting confused. People see the suit change and say, oh, I don't know how, if it was a couple wands, I could kind of, stitch that together, make that combination of tarot cards work. However, we went from wands to pentacles, and that's very confusing to me. So in this case, it's not, because what the Ten of Wands tell you is you're carrying this heavy burden. You've been on this same path for a long time, and numerology teaches you have cycles every 9 years. What this says is, whatever the situation, whether this is, oftentimes I see this in career readings, when then people would say is, what's going on with my job or my career, and it'll say, you have gone too far down this path, right? Maybe you were meant to be there for a while. Maybe you were meant to learn what you wanted to. Maybe it served your purposes for a while to get, a solid foundation on your feet. But right now, coming into work every day is a burden because you are no longer growing, right? Or you don't see a path to future growth, whether that's promotions, whatever the case may be, or it's just become what was once, a good challenge for you is now just drudgery because you kind of know how to do your job, but there's no growth opportunity for you. So it's really just becoming a burden on you every single day. Now, when you come over here to the Three of Pentacles, the Three of Pentacles really says this is a milestone marker on the way to a journey. 3 in numerology, this is about creativity, putting things together or starting to make things. But then the main message from this card is celebrate the milestones on the journey, even though it's not completed. Here they're celebrating the creation or the finishing of this one archway in an entire cathedral. Obviously, that's not all the way towards your goal of maybe finishing the entire cathedral, but they're taking time to pause and celebrate the milestone that you have on the way. What this would say is, if you are stuck in a job that doesn't suit you anymore and you're trying to find something else and you want to find something else, you can do that and you will enjoy it more, and you will celebrate kind of the day-to-day things with that a lot more, versus the day-to-day things in the old job is now just becoming drudgery or too much of a burden for you. But when I see this card in lots of readings, and it can come up in different contexts as this combination, but oftentimes it is in career readings. People ask me, what's going on with my career, what's going on with my job, whatever the case might be. And they honestly, this is not a surprise to them. That's where you become a magical tarot card reader, is when you point out something to them that they actually already know and they're already feeling. They just can't put their arms around those feelings or why they feel that way. They may say, why am I not feeling? Why do I feel like my job is a burden? Why do I not like my job so much? And once you pull it out, you kind of pull out the strands, they make their own connections themselves, and they say, oh yeah, it's because I'm not growing. I used to be a challenge, but I don't like it anymore. It's becoming a burden. And then you can say, well, are you able to clearly articulate the type of job or the type of work, after doing this for 10 or 20 years, whatever it is that you're currently doing, can you articulate or speak up, the type of job or the type of career you'd want to have? And they probably generally say, oh, yes, based on all my experience, I can tell you the types of job I don't want, but I can definitely tell you what I want to get into. And sometimes it is moving to a different area. They say, I've been doing one type of work for a long time, and let's just pretend you're an accountant or something, traditional or boring, and you want to get into something more exciting, more creative, music industry, something more related to some of your passions and hobbies, or a nonprofit with a goal that you really kind of synergize with, something you really think that you want to make an impact on something. And say, okay, yes, and they can clearly communicate around this. I know exactly the type of job that I would want to have, and say, okay, well, that seems like a no-brainer, right? As a tarot card reader, you're sitting here saying, well, you knew these things, and you talked about it very clearly of why one's a burden and why you would want to go in this direction. So why aren't you? And it is back to this numerology reason. It's because the fear that they feel like they would be going backwards, even though the tarot cards in the hierarchy are telling them and telling you they would actually be going forwards. And they're like, well, I feel like I wouldn't get the same type of job, or I might have to take a pay cut initially to come into an entry level. And yes, that's absolutely true. And that fear of perception of going backwards is what's holding them back from actually making this decision, where the tarot can give them the clarity that yes, in the short term it may feel like a step backwards because you are moving to an entry level position, but it is on a different curve, on a different leveling up, something else that's changing what you were doing, that's drudgery, to something you love. And there's no doubt, if you find you have the skills and the energy and now the passion to actually come into work every day and do your best, you will find that you will quickly move past that entry level position very quickly, because it's something you are truly interested in, and you will be a short term dip or a short term step back in just money. And then you eventually, that will help you continue to grow, because if the old situation, the old job, the old career is a burden and not sustainable, you're going to get burned out and you won't be earning anything. However, if you're able to take a short term step back, even if it's for a year or two, and then able to grow this new career on a path that you love, you're going to be able to sustain that for a much longer amount of time, and you're going to have much more satisfaction out of it. So when you propose it in this kind of context, it really says, this is still a move forward. It's a short-term temporary thing as you change lanes or change gears or change careers, but over time it's going to be the right decision and will take you further than staying stuck in the old position. But that's why it's difficult for people when they get in that position, because they kind of know exactly what they would want to do. They just have the fear of everyone. Well, what would my family say? What would my friends say if they knew I was taking a pay cut because you had some kind of attachment to your success in your old career? But it's no longer serving you. And one of the biggest lessons is no one really pays attention. No one cares. You got to live your life for you and make sure you accomplish your goals. Why would you put on the facade of still being successful in a career that you don't want, or some money that they don't know that you make, in order to keep yourself from the career that you really want, if it means, hey, I'm going to take a short-term pay cut, and I assume if I do a good job and I'm very passionate, excited about it, I'll move up pretty quickly and really kind of accelerate my career that way. So that's a second example where the hierarchy of the tarot is helping you out more so than just the numerology. Now, a third one I would say I'll put into the bucket of like cartomancy, which is really paying attention to either the symbolism or the positioning, and even who's looking at who in the card. So in this case, you have the Queen of Cups and the King of Cups. A good sign that you are using these pieces of information from the tarot even before you have the question. Again, I don't even care what question you're going to ask me. If you told me if it was a relationship question, you haven't even asked the question yet. I don't even know. I don't even have to know it to know that you two are not seeing eye to eye, because she's looking to the left, he's looking to the right, and there's this kind of big separation here in the middle, which says whatever the topic is, whatever the relationship issue is, you two are currently not seeing eye onto it, and there's this perception of a very big wall between the two of you because you're looking in different directions. So in this case, we are using the positioning of the cards or where they're looking. In this case, if this were a bigger spread, I would certainly say whatever cards to her left is very important to how she's feeling or how she sees the situation, and the card to the right of the King of Cups would be almost how they're perceiving the situation or what's important to them. And then that duality that comes from those cards will give you more context and energy as to how how to really treat the broader reading and how to really figure out what is causing this divide or this wall separating the two of them where they don't see eye to eye, and we'll give you the clue and the hints as to how to actually bring it back together so that they can, right? So that's an example where in this case you can use the suits, you can use numerology, you can use whatever the case you want. But in this case, what you're seeing is the actual positioning of the cards and who's looking at which cards or what direction is actually also playing a role in how the term what cards are more important to one side versus the other, or how things are working out. This can be trickier for people to learn in the beginning, but if you just at least have raised your awareness of this and say, okay, even if I don't know how to treat it in my first few readings, I'm just going to be aware and make observations for your own personal growth as what it means when certain cards are looking in certain directions, and eventually you will start to figure out and say, yes, I feel much more comfortable with this. I can make this work for my tarot card readings. And cartomancy or this type of positioning is something that you can add to your tarot card readings. And the last one here is, just sometimes when you get like two major arcana cards, you can get very confused because you're like, well, I kind of know what some of these cards mean on their own, but I don't know how to put them together in this case. And in this case, sometimes you got to look for overlapping or pretty similar imagery. So here you can talk about, in this case, someone may say, hey, in my friend circle and stuff like that, the moon is usually about feeling like isolated or you're feeling alone. It's like, hey, even though I've got this close group of friends, I don't feel connected. I feel isolated and alone. I'm not getting what I really want from this friend group. And why is that? Why do I feel almost like on my own, even though they should be my closest group of people, or at least they're the people I spend the most time with right now? And what the moon usually tells you is that someone is working against you behind the scenes. They're either undermining you or gossiping about you, wherever the case may be. And usually the moon is a tricky card because they may not have awareness of it. But usually the advice is to, keep a dream journal or look at your dreams, because it's going to come through your subconscious, since the moon is really, really deep, Cancer, water energy, moon energy. So it's like look into your subconscious, and that may give you some hints as to what's going on. But in most likelihood, it is these people you think are the closest friends to you, when you're not around, one of them at least is gossiping about you or spreading bad things about you, undermining you towards other friends, and that's why you're feeling this separation and this distance between your friends. Now, when you get to the death card, which is, just really, it's Pluto energy, it's transformation energy, it's Scorpio energy, death and rebirth. And what this really says here, what you can see here is, see this imagery of the towers and so forth? It's over here in this card in the corner, but now the sun is rising. Rather than the moon coming up, the sun is rising. And what it says here, now that is your connection between these two cards. And here you're saying, okay, whatever was occurring in this card, which is this friend group energy feeling isolated, it's going to be connected to or even resolve, because the sun rising usually says you're putting a spotlight on things, and it's going to kind of help resolve that. That means this next card, the connection is how it's going to resolve the first card. You'd be trying to find, a random connection or combination between these two cards, when really they're kind of, one's going to be the solution to the other problem. In this case, when the death card comes up, it's sometimes about endings or transformations. Just like we talk about the cycles of numerology in every 9 years, just because you level up your life in different areas, it doesn't mean everyone's going to come with you. Some people are meant to be in your life for a certain period of time, and you're meant to learn and grow from them in that time. And then if you level up or go to a different cycle of life, they may not be on that journey, or they may not be there for a while because you've learned what you meant to from them, and now you got to connect with other people that are going to help you grow in different ways. And so in this case, when I see this card come up here, says, if you just told the person, hey, your friends are gossiping about you and you're probably not going to be friends with them really soon, that can be very scary for someone to hear and say, oh, this is the worst case scenario. This is the worst tarot card reading ever, because I came to you because I'm just feeling a little disconnected to my friends, and now you're telling me I'm going to have no friends. That's super scary. But the broader context here is the death card's actually going to remove those friends from you. If you didn't know it, it's because they're not really friends of yours. They're frenemies, or whatever the case might be, the kids are saying these days, because they're gossiping about you. And in fact, you're going to feel much better and more connected if you've got another group of friends, because once these friends are gone, no one's going to be gossiping about you again, and you're going to feel more connected to your new group of friends. Or as you explore new hobbies or new sports, whatever the case might be, those friends will have more things in common. Just because your current group of friends are people you went to school for a long time, it doesn't mean that you're going to grow together and have the same interests over time, and maybe it's time to reset it. But what's very important about this being a major arcana card, it says, is You really, the hardest part to deal with is you don't have the strength to do this for yourself. If I, as a tarot card reader, told you you need to really get a new group of friends and leave all your old friends and you'll feel better about the situation, you wouldn't do it and you wouldn't believe me. However, what the death card says is it's not going to be your choice. Your spirit guides and guardian angels are stepping in this situation and they're going to be the ones to remove those people from your life, whether it's just as you start a new sport, you just don't have the time, or they stop kind of inviting you to specific things because that separation kind of continues, but it's going to happen on their end and not specifically yours. But it is guided by your spirit guardians and guardian angels. That's why you should trust it. And then the outcome of this is going to be, it's going to resolve this feeling that you have. Maybe you didn't know the two were connected. Maybe you're, you this, not feeling close to your friends, what makes you want to be closer to them. But that's maybe not the solution in this case. In this case, the solution is going to be that the death card is going to remove those friends from you, and you're going to find a new group of friends that are actually more supportive and more aligned with you and will help you grow on the next cycle of life and next stage of your life. And that is way more important than trying to save the friend group that you're in. I think that's why I tell people in summary, tarot doesn't pull any punches. It gives you the information that you need, and it doesn't sugarcoat a lot of it. So it can be super hard to hear to say, oh, you're saying I don't feel connected to my friends group as much as I did last year in school, and now you're saying we're not going to be friends anymore. That's terrible. But in reality, if you see it from the bigger picture and the bigger life lessons beyond just this one problem, and it is, well, don't you want friends that really are close to you, trust you, want the best for you, and aren't going to gossip about you behind your back? You'd say absolutely yes. Well, don't you want friends that are going to help you grow in ways you didn't expect and maybe have more in common with you? Then you say absolutely yes. I would say yes to both of those and say, okay, well, that's what should happen. And if you're not strong enough right now, which in many cases in our lives this happens, that's why this card exists, it's going to happen on your behalf by your spirit guardians and guardian angels. And then just trust that the outcome of where things land, even though it can be hard and to go through these changes, especially when you're younger, but trust the outcome is going to be something that's super beneficial for you. And in hindsight, 2020, a year from now, you're going to be super glad that occurred, even if you would have been resistant at the time going through it. So all these reasons are ways that you can look through different ways to make tarot card combinations. You could look at the numerology, you can look at the hierarchy of the tarot, you can look at the way the cards are looking, cartomancy in different directions, and you can look at really the elements or the visualizations that are common connections between the cards, and all those will give you a lot more connections and things to work off of in your tarot card combinations than just a meaning and a position and a spread. And that's why I always tell people why it's so important is if you can read 2 cards in combination, you can read any spread, because every spread is just many different iterances of this. This will be like one sentence of the story, but you can write whole paragraphs and whole chapters once you get more cards involved and find all the connections in the same way. But if it ever gets confusing for you, boil it down to 2 card combinations, and that's going to be the secret for you to move forward in your tarot card reading. And if you want to check, I've got other videos to help you as well, or you can join my tarot reader course, and there's probably links in the description below this.